This is treading on toes because I know how pissed off and upset a lot of these masons when they find out their faces in this video. This first video is an insight of how vast and big this secret society is worldwide, and the fact that millions of people that have awoken over the last 2 years have underestimated how powerful and big this is. But there's still 2 more videos to come after this one, so we'll see where everything leads. Wish me luck. let's quickly hear some of the messages from the Master Masons to all other brethren Masons across the world for 2022.
Brethren and companions, I'm delighted once again to be able to speak to you all and to wish you and your families a very happy new year. It has been a difficult year for us and for Freemasonry as a whole, but I have been greatly inspired by all I've heard about our collective response to these challenging times. I was delighted to award a number of our members commendation certificates for their outstanding efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic. Hearing of the many selfless acts undertaken by individual Freemasons and by lodges and chapters has made me even more proud to lead this very special organization. Each small act of kindness reminds us of our own initiation ceremonies and our exhortation to be mindful of those less fortunate than ourselves. 2021, however, has been a year of two halves, and as restrictions have eased, Freemasonry did not rest easy. The province of Buckinghamshire brought over 100 people into the craft on a single day at Freemasons' Hall, and many lodges and chapters stepped up a gear, holding emergency meetings to work through the 6,000 or so waiting to be initiated. Although this year might have felt like an uphill struggle, it has been a struggle which you have tackled together. You have supported each other and your local communities throughout the pandemic, and as this year dawns, there is plenty for us to look forward to. The rollout of the Members' Pathway, Project Hermes, and the consecration of Lodge number 10,000 all demonstrate an organization that is confident about its future and its place in society and the world.
At UGLE, our core aim should always be to support our members at every level, whether that be the provinces and districts, at lodge and chapter level, or right down to the individual member. Our role is also to steward the craft for the next generation, whilst ensuring that it will be fit to meet the challenges of the next 300 years. We have not swayed from this goal, and therefore we're very proud to launch the Members' Pathway, which aims to support members at every point along their Masonic journey. This programme seeks to give us all the knowledge and skills to attract and support new members, engage and listen to current members, and seek out those who have lost their connections to their lodge or chapter. Back in April, our communications team were working hard on conceiving a digital marketing campaign which would run across the country on Facebook and reach thousands of potential new members. The campaign was carefully planned and developed to attract those who would understand and appreciate our values. It came on the back of a stunningly successful set of interventions to improve the public's perception and understanding of our craft. The National Digital Marketing Campaign was launched in November, along with our brand new public website, to great success. And by this November, nearly 113 million people have seen our messages, equating to over £3 million worth of public exposure. There have been 369 positive articles on Freemasonry in the printed and television media, and over 13,000 column inches written about us in newspapers and magazines, an increase of nearly 400% on the previous year. People are writing and reading about us because we are interesting and have something positive to offer the individual, society, and the world. When we look back into our own history, as we will be doing a little more over the coming year, we see that as an organisation we were formed during a time of great strife to celebrate those things which bring people together, and our values have changed little over the intervening centuries.
Couple of nice guys, I'm sure. Now let's get back to business.
The one thing I'd like for you to take away from anything that I say today is this one point, that nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. The police aren't who you think they are. The sheriff is not who you think he is. Banks do not do what you think they do. Governments don't operate anywhere near the way you think they do. And that's why today, when you look at what's going on in the world today, None of it makes any sense. It's all crazy. It makes no sense at all. Seems very destructive. But actually, in point of fact, you don't know how the system works. It's working perfectly fine. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and the people, the masses, are entertained with television and alcohol and drugs, and the wealthy continue to get wealthy, and so it's working perfectly fine once you understand how the world really works, and nothing works the way you think it does. My whole life I have been interested in theology and religion, and that's my real love, and I've spent all my awakened hours of research throughout the country and throughout the world studying theology and religion, but not to learn from it, but to learn about it. And it's a fascinating story once you see how our religions came into being, and you begin to see things that you've never seen before, and begin to have questions that never occurred to you before. And so that's been my major love. But I also, in the early 80s, very early 80s, came into contact with some people who were experts on government banking. And I was in their company for many years. And I learned how governments work, and it was absolutely astounding to me to see the real truth. It's taken me 48 years to get here tonight, but I'm going to give you a secret that I've learned. I'm going to give this to you for free. This is a secret, and it's a very powerful secret. People will always, financially and in every other way, people will always support what they want to hear. They will not support what they don't want to hear. If you like country music, you're not going to pay $30 for a rap concert. If you like a particular movie star, you're not going to go see somebody else. People will always, if you like a particular kind of food, you're not going to the opposite restaurant. So people will always support what they want to hear. And the one thing around the world that the ancient peoples and anyone who has traveled and dealt with the public, you will find the one thing that people, generally speaking, do not want to hear is the truth. Nobody is happy when they have to be faced with the truth. And so there are some brave people, like maybe you here today, who are at least open to hear something that may conflict with what you believe or what you know, but at least you're truth seekers. That's what I have always been, as a truth seeker. I always say I'm not the world's foremost authority on anything, because I'm at least smart enough to know how much I don't know. But when you begin to break down how government works, banks work, you begin to see a whole world that you've never known. The word I use is occult. Occult simply means hidden. And this is exactly what is going on in the world today. Our governments, banks, institutions of education, etc., are operating on a totally occult or hidden basis. And so what we are told and given to understand is not the truth. Let me give you an example. How many people have heard me lecture or talk about the maritime system of commerce? Okay, so most people at least have heard about the subject. For those of you who haven't, I'll just give you some examples. When you go into court, why do you have to go to court? You play tennis on a court. You play basketball on a court. The whole idea in a court is to put the ball back in the other guy's court. So you have a team of lawyers, and they throw the ball back in the other guy's court, and that team throws the ball back in the other guy's court, and the judge is a referee. And he doesn't care who wins or loses. He's going to get paid anyway. So he wears a black robe. Black robes, most people never question, why do Catholic priests wear black robes? Kids that graduate from high school wear black robes. judges wear black robes, rabbis wear black robes, because black robes represent the planet Saturn. They are a symbol for the planet Saturn. Saturn was called by the ancient people Lord of the Rings, and Saturn is Lord of the Rings. This is why women were told in the ancient world to listen to their God, and the concept was they would wear an ear ring. Men were to get married before their gods. They wear a wedding ring, because the old ancient god of the Middle East, one of the ancient gods of the Middle East, was the planet Saturn. Saturn was directly connected to Yahweh, the Hebrew God. And so this is why even today the Jews celebrate the worship of Saturn. Saturn in the old Phoenician language was called Shebath. Look up in the Phoenician language, you will find that the planet Saturn was called Shebath. And his worship to honor him once a week was called Sabbath. So when the Jews are having Sabbath, they're actually paying homage to their god Saturn, Lord of the Rings. And so when you start breaking down where religions have come from, theologies have come from, the six-pointed star, for instance, is called the Star of David. Actually, it's not the Star of David. All the encyclopedias and reference works will tell you that it's called the Star of Saturn. It is a hexagram. Hexagrams represented the planet Saturn. So, and then when you look at the Christian system of things, the church is a disgrace, in my opinion, period. The Christian church is a disgrace. Everything that comes out of the Christian church in America is a disgrace. It's filled with lies, deception, innuendos. It is a money-making corporation. It operates under maritime admiralty law. And there is a whole world of knowledge that Christians have not been given about the scriptures, about who wrote the Bible, where it came from, that. In point of fact, Israel is not a BC religion. The whole concept of the Old Testament was developed right around the 9th, 10th, and 11th and 12th century AD. So that the Old Testament is not an ancient record of an ancient people. There was no ancient Israel. Two of the greatest scholars, archaeologists in Israel, have written a book called Unearthing the Bible. And these two men, these two archaeologists, are the best and the brightest of the archaeologists in Israel. And in their book, basically, that's what they said. There was no Moses, there was no King Solomon, there was no King David. The entire thing was written probably in the 8th, 9th, and 10th century AD in Europe. Developed and ultimately taken, all of that was taken by the Jesuits in the Catholic Church and rewoven into a story and given to us today as an ancient Israel. There was no ancient Israel. Never existed. There was no Moses. There was no King Solomon. Solomon was Sol, Om, On. Sol is Latin for the sun. Om is the Hindu word for the creative force. And On is the name of the sun in Egypt. The Greeks call it Heliopolis, but the Egyptians call the city of the sun On. Go look in a dictionary, look up the word On. It will tell you it's the city of the sun in Egypt. This is why you flip a light switch on, because it was a city of light. So you take Sol, Om, On, the three names of the sun in the ancient esoteric languages, it becomes Sol, Om, On, or Solomon. Even in the ancient Bibles, the old Bibles from the 12th, 13th, and 14th century, in the Bible, it didn't say King David. It kept talking about King Druid. And incidentally, the system of government and laws that we live under today in America and in the Western world is a Druidic system. America is a Druidic country. Canada is Druidic. Like I said, Western civilization is a Druidic establishment. The Druids were a very powerful priesthood in Europe, even before the Roman Empire existed. And they were the attorneys, the lawyers, the religious leaders, the politicians. It was called the Druidic system. And One of the most important symbols in the Druidic system was a magic wand, like Merlin the magician with his magic wand. And orchestra leaders and conductors use a magic wand. That's a Druid symbol. And the Druid symbol of the magic wand was made out of the wood of a holly tree. It's made out of Hollywood. And the entire establishment in Hollywood is a Druidic system. So if you don't understand Druidic symbols, you'll never know what's going on in Hollywood and where they're being financed, who's financing them, and how this stuff really works.
So ultimately, the psychopathic controllers of the earth are actually the head of the Masons, and they have all the Masons around the world that are the heads of each town and city and the states, and every single system that is there in front of us. They have the heads of the fire departments, the police, the hospitals, everything. So they're not just a uniform, and they're not just knife and fork dinner Masons of running society. There's a lot more behind how this system works and the hierarchy system they're all a part of. We'll get more into that in depth after the next couple of videos.
But let's see just what these soldiers of the one world government who serves Lucifer, the United Nations, let's see what they want to display in their symbolism. Here we get a square. Is that like a square and compass? I'm not sure, but this, oh yes, that's definitely a Masonic apron surrounded by United Nations symbols. You can see the one-to-one correlation between this image right here and this image right here. So a nice display here that the United Nations are showing who they belong to and who their allegiance is to.
Grand Master of Freemasons in Indiana, and we are here at the Scottish Rite, where we have just concluded the 57th annual Founders Day program, where the leaders of Indiana Freemasonry have a message for you.
Brothers Brown and Negretti, you have been appointed stewards of this lodge, and I will now instruct you in your duties. In olden times, your province was to superintend and provide for the festivals of the craft, to assist in the collection of dues and subscriptions, to keep an account of all expenses for refreshments, and to see that the tables were properly supplied and every brother suitably provided for. In modern times, however, the provision for actual refreshment has diminished, and your principal functions will now be to prepare candidates for admission and to perform those duties which Masonic custom has assigned to you on days of procession. Receive the jewels of your office together with the white rods. You'll now repair to your respective places.
To finish off, we're going to flick over some symbolic imagery, alchemy, or Masonic drawings if you must. Try and understand the family tree a bit more and about the symbolism within their pictures. Meanwhile, confusions, illusions, ways that deceive, the very same things have us down on our knees. They have a secret language, numbers, symbols too, so try to listen carefully as I'm dropping in a clue. Our bodies create emotions, that's chemical alchemy. There's 3 prime metals inside us that might just set us free. They divide us into colours, they divide us into faiths. We'll smash divisions down, as that's the human race. Now I wrote this poem about all of our fight during the time of dark versus light, and there's no special rhythm and there's no special rhyme, but understand this message and we'll end all their crime. Stop elite growth, it's out of control. We'll forever be slaves to political goal. They corrupted our integrities, intentions and law. Their final end game means love be no more. Wars are corrupt, crimes that destroy. They win them with pleasure or lose them with joy. They'll send all your children and send all the men, promised with glory, never seen again. These awful decisions that left many to cry, as millions are lost in the blink of an eye. There's limited spiritualism in our quest for hope, designed by those that tied us in rope. We are born in a world as rich or poor. It's this material madness that souls are no more. Guardian angels are a high conscious state. In this very concept is the image of faith. Our souls are suffering by an incredible weight. That's Inna Agartha, she's in a great state. The flow of their symbols secretly inform. By knowing this method, the soul can be reborn. Escape the codes made by them. It's the conscious web key to our memory again. The inevitable results of material greed is another thing stopping the enlightenment we need. The audacity of rulers at our expense are teaching all our children utter nonsense. These artificial ways will keep you running on low. The time is now. Start letting go. Our faults are the nuts to inner self-growth. Harmonise with others to build love the most. Pandora's box isn't lost, can be found, but the search inside is where it's bound. These evil people dividing you and me are the very same bloodlines running society. Human soul, immortality are the temple's blessed free eyes for those that choose to see. These invisible powers of heart, mind and soul are the elite's primary mission to stop it being your goal. If life is a test, how do we pass? Is it facing our futures or facing our past? Now I know it's hard, but we must not hide. Let's face these demons as one pride. The innocent children will never have a say if we let these elites have it their way. Now, let's reverse the curses of the Kabbalah, Morel, and see their dark spells leave them in hell. Do not lose sight of your values and do reach the conditions that help others. And if we all have this same method in life, we are going to succeed in building a better world that we all are fighting for and desire. It's about time our world steps out of this evil, tyrannical system that we've all been born into and brings something better. It's failed us all and it will never be able to be forgiven for its crimes against humanity it has constantly done. Now I understand there's a lot more behind an opinion, but when we look deeper and the more people that do more research, the more we bring to the table, and that's what times we are living in. We need to have as much as we can as ammunition for us to push harder to bring that change that the world needs and the future of all children deserve. Every single one of us were born innocent and we can't all die innocent. I'm afraid we have to actually put our efforts into being a part of the change. We cannot go through life by ignoring and being ignorant to the sad satanic truths that run the world. These hierarchy systems must fall, and they're not going to fall without us pushing it. So I hope everyone learned and gained a perception of how big of a situation this is we're dealing with. But this is part 1, and we'll see you in part 2 and part 3 with some more deeper information and pictures that we couldn't reveal in part 1. Much love to you all. Keep up the good fight.
It